Randruut, and I'm an independent producer, instructor, teacher, percussionist, world music aficionado, and composer too. I'm doing a project now from the Survive and Thrive grant, and it's a really interesting project that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it's really pursuing the study of traditional Bata music from Nigeria. So the Yoruba people of Nigeria have a tradition of both drum and dance called Bata, and it's a group of drums, a family of drums that has a whole repertoire of music that exists historically. It's got accompanying dances and different historical significance to it. So a collaborator friend of mine who is a Yoruba from Nigeria, he's kind of an expert in the traditional dance and the drumming and percussion tradition. He and I have been kind of pushing this project along. So the way the project has worked is he came to the realization that this music is kind of dying out in Nigeria because a lot of the newer generations are really not studying it, performing it, pursuing it as fervently as previous generations had. So to kind of preserve it, he gathered some of the masters that he could locate to play through the musical repertoire and kind of create a documented version of it.
This particular recording you're listening to was recorded in 2003, and true to what we were thinking, about 3 of the people performing on this music are already dead. So that's a huge loss to the music community.
So what we've done is created original compositions as well as the parallel of the original recordings. Here's what some of those are sounding like right now. So what we're thinking is, first off, is to just present recordings because a lot of it is really studio-based right now. We would like at some point to be able to perform these live, but I think the first round is really going to be to present audio recordings. So we're going to put them up probably in a SoundCloud type format or something where online, people can go check them out, or we might have a listening party or something like that later in the year. We talked about that as a possible option too, where we get to kind of preface it, play a couple of the tracks, talk about what their significance was, have both Hojo and I talk about where these tracks came from, what's being said by the drums, and how we reinterpreted some of it. To actually be able to spend some time, to not have to go teach all these classes and actually sit in the studio for blocks of time. And it does take some time. When you're working on a project like this, it might take you a couple hours to kind of dig in deep enough to where you're really getting to the rich material. And you have to block out some pretty significant amounts of time. So I kind of feel like having some funding to kind of carry me through some of periods where I wouldn't go teach, and instead I'm spending time in the studio, is definitely a key to it. It's like getting that time to work, because it's legitimate work. Sit down and really kind of ponder this stuff. And you're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the recordings. You're listening with and going over it with a fine-tooth comb when you're trying to edit these artifacts out. And there's a lot of little things you're trying to clean up. We weren't in a perfect recording studio environment when these field recordings were made. We tried to get the best we could, but there's little tiny flaws, and if you want to put it out as like a legitimate recording, you're trying to clean it up the best you can. So it's like forensic work at times. You're really listening with a fine-tooth comb, you're watching these waveforms, and it takes a lot of lengthy concentration to kind of get that down. And so yeah, the funding definitely helps get those goals to happen. One of the things I've learned through this time is to kind of establish a workflow that is easily startable. So I like right now to have my studio set up in such a way that there's not a lot of presetting to go on. If I'm ready to work, I have an idea, I can just kind of go power on and things are ready to work from there. So I've kind of tried to set my studio up in such a way that it's a quick access to get rolling with it, and to just kind of establish somewhat of a regular schedule of even if it's an odd hour, to just have that be the regular time to visit the project. I've just kind of found that important, and in the fact that so much of what I'm doing in my studio, I'm sometimes having to shift gears on different projects or teach live classes. It's been kind of reconfiguring my workspace so that I can actually shift gears like that without a major reshuffling of technology or gear or equipment. So that's one of the big things I've kind of learned and kind of had to relearn as I go too. I think being a Changing Worlds artist impacts me because being out working with students, getting their response, getting to expose them to little elements of this music, because I do bring it into what I teach, and seeing how they're hooked so quickly, that just kind of inspires me that I could kind of share these projects with them or share aspects and actually show them, what are the foundations of this style of music, and get them to respond really positively, and get them to be also inspired musically too. So I see their excitement, and they're like, hey, they're glad to do this music class with me.